here is my larger celestial amethyst. Celestial forms of quartz are essentially like this. It looks like a little torch. And it is as if you took an amethyst cluster and pricked out a peak with its roots attached, but it does form this way in nature, and that is why they're considered so special. Celestial quartz is thought to concentrate the spiritual powers of the crystal into this one condensed form. I personally love it because of its beautiful torch-like shape, and I especially love looking into the peak of the amethyst to see the wonderful world it has inside. I also love the way it feels in my hands as I grasp the handle of the torch. And I love seeing the dark purple peak prick out from my fingers. I think it is just so wonderful. It is really like a magical purple flame, and when you hit it just in the right lighting, it looks like a purple light just shining through. It's so wonderful. And of course, I have the little celestial amethyst as well. This one isn't quite in the perfect celestial form, but I still love it. And you can see that the peak is a much lighter shade of lavender. And I think it is just so cute. It's like a little mini celestial. And because it's more transparent than the other one, I have an easier time seeing, especially through this clear surface over here, what is inside. And I think it is just so stunning. This one is very special because, as you can see, it has the perfect 60-degree angles going throughout. This is actually an amethyst tumblestone that I picked up because I immediately recognized this pyramidal 60-degree shapes going through the crystals, which means it was almost in its way to form that perfect quartz point formation. This cute little thing unfortunately didn't quite get there, but I think it really shows us the intermediary point between when the, and no pun intended here, between when a smooth rock surface becomes formed into that perfect 6 degrees shape. So I think it's really special. I also love how clear it is, and when you hold it just in the right angle, it creates the most fabulous rainbows. And because it's so clear, you can so clearly see the purple inclusions going through the crystal, and I think it is just so magical. And this very interesting piece is really just the top of what probably was an amethyst cluster. But if you look at the bottom over here, you can see that the point where it probably got off is smooth, which means that it was probably from a very old mine somewhere, and the part that separated from the body of the crystal had time to smooth over and become less sharp, and through process of enduring the weather and the conditions, it became like this, except that the points were almost perfectly preserved throughout this process, which I think is really wonderful. This is a very rich amethyst. As you can see, it's a very dense purple, and a lot of people will grade the quality of amethyst based on the darkness of the purple and the clarity and the size of the individual points as well. Not that these things matter a lot to me personally, but I think this is a very good depiction of what a good amethyst point peak would look like for those of you who are interested. The clarity of this cluster in particular is remarkable because you can quite literally see right through, and if I put my finger behind it, you can see that. You can see my finger as well. And I think it just looks like a beautiful crystallized cluster of grapes. I think it is just so stunning. And the way it just refracts the light as I turn it slowly, I think is just stunning. Both at the point where there's the peaks and at the rough part at the back as well. This again is a single point that has separated off from the body of the is most likely from an old mine that were usually excavated by explosives and other things that probably broke off and through the withering process became smooth like this at the back. I love this piece in particular because of the wonderful inclusions. This one has so many different inclusions, like there's some metal oxide inclusions right here formed as these dense dots going through the crystal, which I think is really cool. And of course you can see these purple mineral inclusions so clearly instead of being diffusely distributed. And there's a lot of fluid inclusions in the crystal as well, giving it its hazy, wonderful look. And I just think it is so remarkable that when I see into the crystal, it reveals this beautiful world inside, just full of sparkles and lights and purple hazes. It's just so remarkable and complex and rich. Absolutely adore this piece. Moving on to the next one is this wonderful, almost chevron amethyst heart. I call it almost chevron because you can see the top part is actually almost a perfect chevron, but the pattern gets a little more diffuse as you move through the heart. A more accurate description of this amethyst, I think, would be a dogtooth amethyst. But I think when I see carved pieces like this in particular, I think it is always so magical that they manage to capture that perfect part where you see these interesting geometrical patterns into these carved shapes. And I really appreciate the work that has gone through creating these beauties and these masterpieces, and I find myself very humbled and lucky to be able to holding this in my hand. This one is a very rich amethyst, as you can see, with the very dark color and the very clear white delineations. And I think it is just so stunning and special, and the size is wonderful for just holding and meditating. And it feels perfect and just so nurturing and healing in my hand, and I absolutely love this piece. Next piece is actually a very, very special gift that I got from one of the crystal sellers, and it is a Shangan amethyst from Naro, which is a region in Africa, and it came with this wonderful letter explaining how the crystal seller actually contacted the chief of the area, and the chief had said that their ancestors had protected these crystals for them to use right now to build businesses and support their community, and I thought that was just such a wonderful story. Shangan amethyst are a combination of amethyst and citrine and smoky quartz, and this really has the most wonderful clarity out of all the amethysts I've ever seen. And the inclusions and the complexity that is captured within this tiny crystal, I think is just so magnificent, and I can really get lost just staring at this crystal, looking at all the inclusions and following all the lines, trying to trace where the amethyst starts over here and ends and blends into this wonderful smoky citrine over here. It is really, I think, the most amazing piece of amethyst that I've ever held in my hands, and I'm so humbled to have received it. The next piece is a newer addition in our family, and it is this giant amethyst cluster. I call it giant because we don't really have very large pieces in our home, but this would qualify as one of the larger pieces that we have in our collection. I'm just going to remove the little pieces of cat fur over here, and you can see just how gorgeous and stunning and clear these points are, that you can see all the purple inclusions very clearly. And I absolutely love how it reflects the light and how you can see different details depending on how you rotate it. And I think they just look like beautiful, rich range of mountains with this amazing purple aura, and these specks of purple reminds me of trees, and it's just an amazing landscape. If you've ever been to Southern Europe in the spring, it's filled with these amazing purple trees that just cover the landscape, and this is really what it reminds me of, just these beautiful amazing and so meditative. I find amethyst to be an incredibly meditative stone because of this. And the other piece, I actually have a funny story I got from, well, Marshall's, which is not a place that you normally expect to find crystals. But then I went to YouTube and found that a lot of people buy their crystals from TJ Maxx, and I actually went and looked up the manufacturer who makes these, or who sells these stones or these crystals, and they get it from Brazilian mines, and I actually found out that it is authentic. I mean, obviously it is an authentic amethyst, it's very clear from looking at it, but I just wanted to see where it comes from. And I just thought it was so amazing because the price of this was actually very affordable, and I know that some people put a lot of value into buying crystals from small businesses and supporting small businesses, which I'm all for as well. A great majority of my crystals come from Etsy shops or other local stores or places in the world that I visit, but many of us can't afford those, so, and that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to enjoy the wonderful benefits that you can have from having a crystal in your home and being able to admire it. So I thought it was actually really wonderful that there was such a accessible source that's available to the mass public. So this is my Marshall's amethyst cluster, and you can see that it's a candle holder, and I love putting my LED light in here, and you can see that it just reflects the light beautifully. And it's interesting how they use this silver colored foil to cover the bottom parts, because I guess they really wanted to emphasize the purple peaks, but as somebody who really value the white parts that are at the bottom of amethyst clusters, I was actually quite surprised that they did that, but to each their own, I guess. But I think this is a very beautiful cluster, and it's a wonderful addition to my home, and I absolutely love using it as a candle holder at night. And that is it for my amethyst video today. Don't forget to subscribe our channel and give this video a thumbs up for more videos like this. And I am sending you guys very positive and